For Capstone 2, I chose to talk about Nome, Alaska. For this capstone involving the Arctic, I chose to write and focus on Nome, Alaska. I chose Nome because it is located 102 miles south of the Arctic Circle, so therefore the Arctic climate changes. Alaska in general over the last 50 years has experienced increased air temperatures. This would include the city of Nome. That was from USGCRP 2017. The threat for Nome is that with temperatures rising, the Arctic is suffering due to the ice melting and overall warming. Nome, Alaska has always had Arctic temperatures, and the wildlife have adapted to that climate. So now, with the warming, the ecosystem has to readjust. Nome is vulnerable because of how close it is located to the Arctic Circle. So with the recent warming making the environment change, and the Arctic burst would have make the ecosystems readjust again. Nome, Alaska has suffered from ice melting recently. The ecosystem has been affected by these changes and must readjust in order to save its wildlife. Scientists recently at a workshop in Nome, Alaska, talked about how the rapid loss of sea ice is changing everything that lives in the ocean, from plankton to whales. That was from Trainer, Tommen, and Sheffield 2019. It is highly possible that human behavior has contributed heavily to these changes. That was from USGRCP 2017. The forecast for the environmental change is that warming is going to continue in Nome, Alaska. However, with it being only 102 miles from the Arctic Circle, Nome has potential to cool. The forecasted impacts on the community of Nome is the general warming is predicted to continue, and the city will also have cold spells. However, they need to prepare. As a community, though, individuals need to become more aware of what they are doing to increase the warming, because it can cause damage to the environment. To keep from having climate fluctuate between warming and cooling, the Alaskan communities need to do their part. Alaska as a whole is warming rapidly compared to the rest of the United States, so therefore Nome is vulnerable to that type of climate change as well. However, the ice melting has become a more serious matter in the area because of the waiting for the whales to return to the island, but with the changes happening and the ice melting, this could be slowing down the return of the whales. The solution to the Arctic climate change is hard to pinpoint because of the change is due to natural climate change and human activity. Therefore, individuals should do their best to help reduce such and sudden different climate change effects, and that could further damage Nome, Alaska.